Hello there. Right, today's video is not going to be like most other videos, right? I'm not going to waste time doing lots of editing and stuff, and I'll keep it relatively short just because I want to say what I need to say and that's it, right? So this video is in response to, well, obviously I did the what if Ireland United, the Q&A video, and then obviously as I do with all my videos, I take clips from it, right? And that's what has been turned now into the case for the redrawing of the Northern Irish border, right? And in both those videos, right, although they're obviously the same kind of thing, right, there ends up being a lot of kickback, right? And I found it quite interesting that the first video I did, which was What If Ireland United, right, that got a lot of support, lots of kind of people, wonderful, etc., right? And those same people, many of those same people, right, in that first video thought I was, they thought I was in favour of United Ireland. And in the second video, when I said I don't think it will work out, oh, that's when they changed. That's when they changed their tune, right? That's when the vitriol really started. So this short video is going to be me kind of just laying out the case and kind of answering some of the overarching kind of points, right? Which I end up coming across time and time again in these comments, right? So first of all, the massive disclaimer, I am not a British spy, nor do I work for the British intelligence services, right? Yes, someone actually said that, and that in two ways, right? So first of all, that's a massive compliment to me. And second of all, it's a massive insult to our British intelligence services, because to think that they would waste time hiring a lowly YouTuber, right, to conduct their policies means no. Like, if that's the situation, they're doing something very, very badly, right? Also, as well, I'd have a lot more funding, I'd have a lot more like supporters, etc., etc. Like, I don't think if the whole British state was behind me, I'd have a bit more kind of clout. Like, anyway, but the thing is, it's like I loved that because it was like, wow, you really think that how? And what I found quite interesting as well is that even though I said in the video I'm an English nationalist, right? I'm in favour of England being independent from the UK, yeah, and therefore I want a complete withdrawal from Northern Ireland, right? So this video that I did, yeah, was as a friendly neighbour making a suggestion of how, based on my overarching principles of countries being independent, right, and borders reflecting the people rather than the other way around, right, that's what that whole video was about. So for those who haven't seen that video basically I was just said, right, there ought to be a referendum, right, and over a period of maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4 years, you end up having citizens' assemblies. So you end up having, on a local level, people come together from both communities and go, right, this was the result. So this area voted this much for a united Ireland, this much voted for an independent Northern Ireland. However, the border is going to cut a little bit through this. So maybe, do we want the border to be here? Do we want to, I don't know, do we want to basically end up, if it's like a unionist island, yeah, like kind of in a sea of Irish nationalism, should it just become part of like the Republic, or should it like be this little enclave, yeah, far away from the rest of Northern Ireland, right? So that's for the people there to decide. That's not for some bureaucrat in London or in Dublin or even in Stormont to be drawing that border, right? So the way that people reacted to that, yeah, you would have thought I was advocating for, rounding up all nationalists, yeah, and expelling them to the north or something. That's the level of like vitriol that I seem to get from that, right? And also, surely if I was working for the British state, surely I'd be advocating for British unionism, yeah, not for, the only response I've had from unionists, yeah, to my videos has been, we don't like the fact that you're English nationalists, because obviously that's, their whole identity, like their whole sense of nationhood would kind of fall apart and stuff, right? And so it's dangerous, like, for their cause and stuff, right? However, they was like, okay, fair enough, that's your opinion, yeah, like everyone's entitled to their opinion, right? But most of the vitriol has come from the other side, the side I least expected. I didn't expect, to kind of turn a Churchill quote on his head, where he said, never before in human history has so much been owed by so many to so few, right? Never before has so much territory and so many people been offered to a country, right? And the people who would be losing the territory and losing the population are cool with it. And the people who would be gaining from that are the ones who are most hostile to it, right? And this kind of, what I've realised with all this is that those who are in favour of United Ireland, right, even quite well-meaning people, and there were many of those in the comments, so I don't want to say like there was all just negative comments and stuff, right? But even well-intentioned people, they seem to have more of a love for the geography of Ireland than they did for the people of Ireland, right? And what I mean by that is they completely discount the desires of a million unionists, most of whom are Protestant. But obviously, there are some Catholics, in certain places who are majority unionist, and so completely discounting them. And it seems to just be for this romantic view of like seeing Ireland all on a map and just being like, we have all this, right? So to me, that's not what that's not what nationhood is, right? And you could see as well in some of the comments, right, how people like kind of was like, oh, well, if the shoe was on the other foot. And there was a bunch of French people who had like invaded 400 years ago, and they had settled all along like the south coast of England, and these people wanted, and like it was a division, etc. And they was like, how would you feel about it? And I was like, well, I wouldn't want those people to be part of my country, because my love of England is based on the people of England, right? Not on this kind of thing of, oh, the geography of England, right? If the whole south coast of England was made up of French-speaking people who see themselves as French, etc., etc., why would I want those people to be part of England, right? Like, I want them to have their own separate place, and for us to be separate from them, so that we as Englishmen govern ourselves and they as Frenchmen govern themselves, right? And even when people said, what if London and like Liverpool, end up splitting away from England and like joined the EU and stuff, right? Well, myself as a Brexiteer living within London, can I just say this, right? I've actually made a draft of the English Constitution, right? Because I'm inspired by the US Constitution, and I find it ridiculous that, especially we saw this in Brexit, like kind of during a time of crisis, no one knows what's going on, because we are only one of two countries in the world, the other being Saudi Arabia, which does not have a codified constitution. So as a result of that, I ended up making a draft of the Constitution, and I said, one of the things within that is to say that territory has the right to secede, right? And obviously secession has a bad legacy within America because of like the South splitting away. But in the 1820s, when New England wanted to split away for various different reasons, right? No one questioned that, right? And territories ought to have the right to secede. Ireland itself would not be a country today if it didn't secede from the United Kingdom, right? So I wouldn't mind. I mean, if the vote happened and a majority of people in London saw themselves as not being English anymore, but saw themselves as being European, I would vote against it. And then from there, I would either stay and grumble, or I would move to another part of England, right? That's just that. Like, why would I want to stay? I wouldn't start rioting. I wouldn't start killing people. I wouldn't start, committing acts of terror because of like how I felt about the situation. And this is one of those things that it's like, surely, the people of Northern Ireland, I've met plenty of people from Northern Ireland, right? Lovely people, really smart, like just lovely people, right? Salt of the earth, right? Now, are you telling me that they are incapable of having a vote and then sitting down in a room and talking like adults about how to go about business, about how a border should be? Are they incapable of that? Is that something which they're, is everyone else in the human race able to do this except for the people of Northern Ireland? Yeah. Are they completely devoid of reason? No, they're not devoid of reason, right? They're completely capable of acting in a civilized and democratic way, right? And if there's a handful of Herberts who commit acts of violence, who commit acts of terror, guess what? Those people belong in prison, which is where they belong. You don't kowtow to these people, right? You don't negotiate with these people. They are terrorists, right? So you don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't kowtow to terrorists, right? You govern based on how the majority of people in this society want to be governed, right? And you don't cater to a tiny, vocal minority, a violent minority who are going to go, oh, we can't do this because, some people might start throwing, bottles and stuff, right? Okay, is really, so you're being held hostage by a handful of people, right? Is that what you're telling me? 2 million people are being held hostage by a handful of people, right? That's not how a society ought to be governed. And as I said in the thing, people are like, oh, have you read the Good Friday Agreement? Yes, I've read the Good Friday Agreement. And I pointed out in that video why I think it's flawed, because it simply replaces one form of, it replaces one form of like not supremacy for lack of a better word. People will still get triggered, but people get triggered anyway, whatever. Like, so having a situation where for the first 50 years of Northern Ireland's existence, right, the unionist community suppressed the Catholic minority, right? Now, the Republic of Ireland, if there's United Ireland, yes, I 100% agree with what the well-meaning people are saying, where, yes, there's not going to be this discrimination, right? And today, in 2021, there's not going to be that discrimination, right? Ireland is a pluralistic society. But how would, speaking now to the well-meaning people, right? You're saying, oh, well, United Ireland is pluralistic and, like the unionists there would be respected. And I don't doubt that for a second. But how would you feel if someone was to suggest that what we need is United Ireland, but back as part of the UK? Because obviously the UK is a very pluralistic society, right? There's many Irish people there. I went to a Catholic school, plenty of Irish friends, etc. It's a pluralistic society, right? So surely, we could all just be friends again, right? No, that would be ridiculous. And I pointed out in that video why it'd be ridiculous and why it'd be insulting to the Irish nationalists, to even suggest that. And similarly as well, if someone was like, oh, what if we just have a united Ulster? Again, that would be insulting to the people there. So why, if the shoe's on the other foot, is that not insulting to the unionists to say, oh, don't worry about your national aspirations and stuff. Don't worry about what flag you want to live under, right? We'll take care of you. We'll we'll treat you as good little boys and girls, just like the rest of us, right? That's insulting. And to not be able to see past that and to see this other thing, because people were like, oh, well, why is it that the Irish nationalists always have to compromise? Irish nationalists got the vast majority of the island of Ireland, right? And the only thing that they didn't get was the fact of, as I said in that video, originally they didn't get like Fermanagh and Tyrone, which had Catholic majorities even then, and they actually tried to split away, and like the people in Stormont actually stopped them, right? So yes, there's been yes, they've had to compromise in those kind of regards, but people in Northern Ireland, they get thrown under the bus constantly, and this is also another thing as well, right? People seem to have this. I think many Irish people, because their history is so dominated by Britain and like its imperial holding over them, right? They can't kind of get past the fact of looking at it from an English point of view, right? Why are the English still in Northern Ireland? Well, it's not for geopolitical reasons, because there's no oil there, there's nothing there, right? It costs us a huge amount of money to prop that site up. It would be like £6 billion every single year to prop Northern Ireland's economy up, right? And it's a thing where if you think about all the terrorism that we've had over the last 100 years. You think about assassination attempts. You think about our Prime Minister almost getting blown up. You think about the Queen's cousin being blown up, etc., etc. You think about all the things that we put through. Like, I've spoken to British soldiers who served in Northern Ireland, and they were like, what the hell were we there for? It was like, we should just let these people just sort things out themselves. We should just let them kill each other, right? Because it was like, what was the point in us being there, right? I'm quoting them. I'm not saying that's what ought to have happened, but that's what their response was, right? People in England, are very, very happy to see the back of Northern Ireland, right? People want to wash their hands of it. And actually, based on this, I, in a friendly way, in an open way, in a pluralistic way, try to offer a suggestion of maybe this is the best way to go about this, and look at the response, the reaction that I've had just to that. So no wonder why people want to just wash their hands of it. And I'm happy to, after this video, I'm not going to speak on Northern Ireland again, because it's too toxic and people there just need to sort it out. So for me, if all of Ireland becomes united, cool. If all of Northern Ireland remains independent or like separate from Dublin, cool, right? And if half of it goes to Northern Ireland, half of it goes to the Republic, cool. It doesn't bother me anyway. Like, England is not going historically England always feared Ireland as being a back door to Europe. So like when the French were there, when the Spanish were there, etc., etc., those days are past. And thanks to like modern satellite imagery and stuff, if there was a fleet coming from Europe trying to use Ireland as a backdoor to invade England, we would know about it like way before, and it would just be intercepted. Like, it wouldn't even reach Ireland, let alone get to Ireland and cross the Irish Sea to attack England, right? So Ireland is no threat to England. England has only been there because the Northern Irish people, the majority of Northern Irish people, have said we want to be part of it. So Home Rule, for instance, Britain was happy to throw the unionists under the bus, right? You know, the Brexit deal that we see at the moment, they're happy to throw them under the bus, right? So don't think that, oh, Britain like loves this and like the British establishment go, "Moo, ha ha ha." Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. You guys know a lot about it, but no one else outside of Northern Ireland, no one else really cares, right? No one else is this invested. I happen to be, because I was brought up with this stuff and I know a lot about the history of it, and I'm fascinated by the history and I'm fascinated by the people, and I would like for people there to be brought together in like peace and harmony, right? But that's about it. And seeing how people reacted to this is why I won't be getting involved in your politics anymore. And finally, I just want to point out, right, the massive hypocrisy that within these islands, yeah, off the coast of Western Europe, right, these people claim to be the most like religious people, right? They claim to be the most Christian, right? Their whole identity is defined by what religious like kind of like sect that they belong to, right? And yet, if Jesus was to come back and he was walked through the Falls Road and the Shank Hill today, how would he respond to people who claim to be believing in him, right? So he obviously taught, turn the other cheek, love thy neighbor, right? Peace and love and all that stuff, right? And these same people who claim to be followers of him have erected like barriers, right? And done all kinds of heinous things to each other and still continue to do this heinous thing, all in his name. And you're telling me that, so what, can people not see the hypocrisy of that, right? And, for people who want a united Ireland, good luck to you, right? You know what, actually, I hope that, in a few years' time, there ends up being a nationalist majority. You end up sticking to your beloved Good Friday Agreement. You end up getting everything that you asked for. You end up getting Northern Ireland. And then I hope that, as has happened with us, right, for the last 100 years, Northern Ireland has been a thorn in Britain's side, right? And politics, think about during Brexit, yeah, some of those votes that were like razor thin, the DUP with just 8 MPs were able to scupper Theresa May's deal, right, in multiple different times. So think about what the DUP will do in the Irish Dáil, right? Think about how much they will scupper everything, because we don't have, we've got first past the post. We shouldn't have first past the post, but you guys have proportional representation, right? And you need coalitions, right? What if it ends up being a thing where the DUP is needed for coalitions or needed to pass budgets and stuff, right? And out of spite, they derail it at every single point, right? How are you guys then going to feel about that, right? How are you going to feel with 100 years of civil unrest, right? And it's not going to be us. We're not going to take no part in it. We ain't going to send no troops. We ain't going to send no peacekeepers, etc., etc. It's all on you. So you can deal with it. You can deal with a million unionists, rioting and whatever they're going to be doing and stuff, right? You can deal with that. So for the next 100 years, you're going to have what we've had for the last 100 years, yeah? Good luck to you. If that's really what you want, if you really are this in love with this dream of a united Ireland, yeah, devoid of what the people on the ground actually want, if your love of this idea of a united Ireland trumps the people who live on that island, yeah, who share that island with you, good luck to you. And so, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I don't want to hear what people have said in the comments anymore. I'm not going to respond to it. So that's just that, right? I've washed my hands of it. I'm sick to the back teeth of it. And good luck to you all. I would say a plague on both your houses, but that would be, no, I wish you all the best of luck, right? And genuinely hope that you all find peace, and I hope that you all figure it out. But I want England to play zero part in it. And I want Dublin to play zero part in it. I want for people of Northern Ireland, they themselves, them to sort it out. And yeah, that's it. Actually, there is one last thing I will say, and it's this. There are two types of history, right? One, where you learn from the what's happening in history, right? And you apply the lessons from that for the present, and you apply it for the future, right? So this channel is very much trying to do that. This channel very much looking at the lessons from the past and be like, right, where do we go from here? And then the other kind of history is one in which people dwell on it, right, with this victim mentality, and they have this constant narrative that stretches back hundreds of years of oppression and victimization. And it's not to say that there wasn't victimization and oppression. That's very true. But the problem is that there's overemphasis on this, There's overemphasis on this anti-British mentality of oh, the evil Brits, etc., or the evil whoever it is, right? This mentality, time and time out history, has made people blind to their present and has made people blind to the future, right? As I said, and I will say it again, in Northern Ireland, I see a lot of past and not much future. And if people continue to think about it this way, and this is both communities, you know, I'll have Protestants talking about, oh, the IRA doing this, I've got Catholics doing this, and it's like both sides. What you guys need to do is learn from history and move forward into the future.